Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Vox Iuventus. I am your host, Ashna Thyssen. In light of the current circumstance of coronavirus, we as CLF have taken the initiative to work from home. As you can see, there is a change in our platform for regarding our podcast. We would like to inform that we are going to be continuing our Vox Iuventus podcast, but we are trying to see different formats online that we can make use of for us to continue uploading our monthly podcast episodes. In light of the current situation, we would like to inform that because most people are at home, we were going to take advantage of this opportunity to do more podcasts more frequently. But we will inform you guys more on that soon, so stay tuned. Before we get started, I would also like to inform the purpose of doing our podcast in this way is to make a community of solidarity and make a community of people that are connected online. Just because we are at home, we can't go outside, we can't be social with people, does not mean we can't stay connected with people. So this is our way of staying connected with you guys. So that's why we're doing this. Now we're going to get started by introducing our special guest for this topic, for this episode. We are with Clementia Eugene. Hi, Clementia. How are you?
Hi, Ashna.
Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers, our listeners?
Absolutely. I just want to start by honoring you, Ashna, and HCLF for this initiative and for all the initiatives that you have for reason of engaging young people to find purpose and meaning and to give service to the community. I really honor the work that you do. And thank you for inviting me here to talk on Mindfulness.
You're welcome.
During the season where we all have to find creative ways of being resilient and coping with this time of uncertainty.
Yes, of course. Seeing as the topic today is going to be mindfulness, I wanted to see if I could ask you if you what background do you have with mindfulness, and when did you get started with it? When did you learn about it? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Thank you. That's a good place to start. As a Roman Catholic, all my life I've been practicing meditation. And some 12 years ago, I was introduced to energy healing, and the teacher introduced me to mindfulness, and I've been practicing since then. I've done some research at the University of Aruba with our students on mindfulness, and the results has been very much parallel to what we find internationally in terms of the impact. So I'm still a student of mindfulness, and the practice have really changed my life.
Great. That sounds lovely. Very, very nice. So I think the way we are going to start this conversation is simply by asking, what is mindfulness? I believe there are many people out there that have heard about it. It's possibly something that have been coming up on the internet, on social media. People are promoting it, but people don't really know what it is. Could you explain what mindfulness is?
Mindfulness, the simplest definition would be paying attention to the present moment, being right here, right now. For example, Ashna, I am here with you. I will endeavor to be mindful by making sure as far as is possible, my body, my mind, my spirit is here with you, and not on what I will do later this afternoon, or what I'll do tomorrow, or what I did yesterday. But really try to recognize that I have nowhere else to go. I have nothing else to do but to engage in this conversation with you, Ashna, and embrace this moment with open curiosity, with excitement, and just embrace it and just move with the flow. So that is mindfulness, just being right here, right now, in the present moment, and accept everything as it is.
Okay, all right, okay. So it's essentially to be centered within yourself and to be in the moments present, essentially.
Absolutely. It would be, another way you could put it, it's the opposite of multitasking. You know, when you multitask, young people like to multitask. They're on the cell phone, they're driving at the same time.
Yeah.
They're thinking they're going to wait for class, they have homework to do. Or they miss Instagram, or what's going on TikTok. And what we do know is being multitasking is really a myth, and it's creating havoc in our brain.
Yeah.
And think of a young person doing all those 5 things that I've mentioned, What really is their attention on? What is it they're paying attention to?
Yeah, exactly.
Really nothing
Makes a lot
except
of
to
sense.
create a cognitive overload of the
Yeah.
brain and then to feel frustrated, upset, angry, annoyed, because you're just wasting time when you multitask. You don't achieve anything because nothing has your attention, really.
That is true.
So you just create stress and being overwhelmed. But when we practice mindfulness by just being in the present moment, focusing on one thing at a time, you achieve so much more and you enjoy life so much better.
Yes, yes, I can imagine, because you are dedicating yourself to one thing at a time and focusing primarily on one thing at a time, making, more effective results for whatever it is you want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, maybe many people are thinking that this sounds like something that they could aspire to do, but they wouldn't know where to begin. Could you let us know or inform us more about how you can learn mindfulness?
In order to learn mindfulness, one needs to appreciate that there are two forms. There is a formal type of mindfulness, and then there's the informal. So the formal part is where you sit down or you lie down and you engage in practicing deep breathing, for example. Or I do Tai Chi. That is a form of movement, mindfulness meditation, or yoga, where you take time in the day to sit, to stand, and practice. So that is the formal type. And then you also have the informal type, where everyday activities from sunrise to sunset, or from waking up to going back to bed, you incorporate mindfulness and being present in your day-to-day activities. So in the morning, you're brushing your teeth. Think about who is it brushing their teeth right now and be present with what you're doing.
Yes.
You're having a shower, Ashna. Next time you have a shower, find out how many people are with you in the shower. Perhaps you're already at the office at Hacienda. Perhaps you're already in the car driving at the stoplight. So mindfulness as an informal practice would encourage you to be in the shower and paying attention to the sound of the water.
Okay.
What does the water taste like? What does the water feels like? How about the soap? What does it taste like? What does it look like? How does it feel on your body? So that is mindfulness. Everything you do during the day, you are eating a meal or you're driving, paying attention to who's driving. The trees, who's walking by, as opposed to having your mind on perhaps already in the office, So that's the informal practice. Now we're invited to wash our hands. Do that mindfully. To who's washing the hand and how does that feel like? Yeah.
All right. Okay. I can understand being a person who is constantly having different thoughts at the same moment. So I'm constantly thinking about different things. Oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, I haven't even started doing it yet, but I'm already thinking about doing it. And it's a constant train of thoughts and it just never stops. So I'm always wondering, okay, how can I calm down and think, one thing at a time, appreciate one thing at a time, and feel and experience one thing at a time every day.
I'll give you an example. There's a research done a couple of years ago. I don't remember the author, but he called millions of people all over the globe and asked them 3 questions. The first question, what are you doing right now? What is your mind on? What are you thinking right now? And are you happy? So, for example, they would ask Ashna, what are you doing right now? I'm doing the dishes. What are you thinking of? I'm thinking of having to drive all the way to St. Nicholas to work. Are you happy? No. So what the results showed is people whose mind was on what they were doing at the moment reported to be happier. So if Ashna was doing the dishes, her mind and her thoughts and her thinking was on doing the dishes, she would have reported being much happier. You see? So when our mind and our heart is on what we are doing right now, we are much happier. And that's the beautiful thing of mindfulness, being in the present moment and being aware of what we're doing.
Okay. I never thought of it like that, but when you say it like that, it makes so much sense. And I feel kind of a little bit of ashamed since I haven't been practicing it as much as I'd like to. But now that you are mentioning it in this simplified manner, I want to try and see how I can implement that when I'm washing the dishes or doing regular mundane things. Just to this, give it a try. Like
It helps
apply
you to
it to
more
my life.
relax, and it reduces stress, because when you think multitude things yet
Hmm.
and then, you just make yourself overwhelmed and stressful.
Yeah,
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 yeah, and don't
definitely.
enjoy what you're doing because you're not there. You're not present.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that is very helpful. Yes, very helpful indeed. I wanted to ask you, now that we've spoken about how you can learn mindfulness, the different manners, the formal and the informal, how does one, how does mindfulness work?
In order to explain how it works, I think it's important that we understand
Mm-hmm.
the impact or the relationship between the brain and mindfulness.
Okay.
The brain, as we know, is a highly complex organ.
Oh,
And
yes.
there is a part of the brain called the amygdala. This
Mm-hmm.
part of the brain is responsible for our negative emotions like
Mm-hmm.
anger and fear and fight and flight. And
Mm-hmm.
when we are upset and when we are angry,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is the body releases hormone or reduces cortisol or adrenaline, which causes the heart to race. And so we lose control. And so
Mm-hmm.
the amygdala is activated, and so we become angry and mad and upset and irritable and violent and aggressive and use bad language.
Yep.
However, when we choose to be present and focus on our breath, it
Mm-hmm.
activates the prefrontal cortex or the prefrontal lobe, which is the part of the brain responsible for positive emotions like love and compassion and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And also insight and problem solving. So when we practice
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness, this is the part of the brain that gets activated.
Okay.
And so we are better able to regulate our emotions, because if not, the amygdala will just take havoc of our lives and take
Mm-hmm.
control. But when we practice being still and just taking those deep breaths, it gives us choice in our emotions. It allows us to choose, and to choose love and kindness and compassion. And so we are more aware of our body. So that's really how it works.
Okay, okay. It sounds very beautiful when you summarize it in that way. It's definitely something that well, you believe and I believe as well. I believe in it very much. That can really help transform the way you feel from within. Seeing what you have mentioned, I wanted to ask if you'd like to give a demonstration of how it works or how you can practice it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But let me just say something. Many times, I'm sure most of us have been taught as young people and children, when you're upset or when you're mad, count 1 to 10 backwards.
Yep.
It borrows from that same science. And it's not a matter of
Okay.
counting 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's counting with
Mhm.
every breath, like 1, 2, and then to elicit the stillness. So let's do a
Mhm.
little practice, yeah?
Okay, I'll practice it with you then.
Okay, so
Just give me a cue.
I invite everyone who's listening, young people, or
Mm-hmm.
those who are not so young, just stop whatever you're doing and just sit
Okay.
comfortably in
Mm-hmm.
a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit, you could perhaps have your feet at least 12 inches apart.
Okay.
And you may choose to lie down and flat on your back, preferably, or
Mm-hmm.
with a pillow behind your neck. And I also like to put a pillow behind my knees.
Okay.
And just close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Or you may want to leave your eyes open, but in a very slow gaze. And we'll begin by taking 3 to 5 deep breaths. And when we breathe in, to hold the breath for as long as you can, and then release with a sigh. So let us begin. Sit comfortably with kind of dignified posture, like a king or a queen, as you all are. And let's take a deep breath in through our nostrils. Hold for as long as you can and release with a sigh. Let's do this again. And now I invite you to breathe normally, just paying attention to the breath going in through your nostrils and out through your mouth. And when you're ready, just gently open your eyes.
That was very nice. Thank you.
How was that for you? How did you feel?
Very nice start of the day, even though it is a little bit much later.
But how did you feel when you were doing the breathing?
I felt a deep calmness and stillness within myself. I felt like all of my thoughts that are usually keeping me from sitting still were clearing. It's like as if it was almost blank, like almost white. I don't know if that's the purpose of the exercise, but I felt like my mind was cleared and I could just focus on my breathing and allow myself to feel my breathing coming in and out.
There you go. So what has happened by taking those short breaths, and that was for about a minute?
Yep.
The breath has simply activated the part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for regulating emotions, responsible for making you calm, responsible for relaxation, for experiencing inner peace and insight and problem solving. It's as simple as this. So you didn't do anything special except for just paying attention to your breath and see how you experience the benefits already. Could you imagine practicing that every day?
I would be more calm, I find. Although I will say one thing, there was a period in my life where I would wake up early in the morning, go outside of my house, maybe around 6 a.m., and I would just sit in silence and I do like a sort of breathing exercise and the chanting of Sanskrit. And I would do that for about maybe about 50 minutes before I would go to school. That's when I would go to school. I don't go to school anymore. Now I work. But that used to keep me calm and motivated. So I believe that I want to start doing that again because it felt so good to be at one with myself.
There you go. There you go.
So all right, thank you. I believe we are going to continue with the next question. So the next question I have, I noticed that because mindfulness is becoming so popular in the community in terms of trending and being popular on social media, people don't really know about it. They aren't aware exactly of the purpose of it and how it works and what it does. Some people have misconceptions about mindfulness, and some people believe that it's either something spiritual or related to religion. So in regarding to those kinds of misconceptions or misunderstandings, I wanted to ask, is mindfulness affiliated with religion or religious beliefs?
The truth be told, mindfulness derived from the Buddhist tradition. And it was brought to the West by John Kabat-Zinn, who is a doctor, and he introduced it to the hospital, into medicine, in the hospital in Boston. And now it has permeated every discipline. So this act about mindfulness is really focusing on the breath. And the truth be told, Ashna, in order to breathe, you do not need to pay allegiance to any king, prophet, priest, or deity. The breath is a free gift that you have. And you take it with you everywhere you go. And you need nobody's permission to breathe. So with that said, on the one hand, one could argue it is not affiliated to any religion, but
Mm-hmm.
we must credit its source, which is the
Okay.
Buddhist tradition.
Yes, yes.
We have to credit the source.
Mm-hmm.
So all we have to do with mindfulness is just focusing our attention on our breath and our breathing, using the breath as an anchor, always going
Mm-hmm.
back to the breath. And by focusing on the breath, it allows us to be in present moment awareness, because every breath happens in this moment. The breath
Yes,
that we
that's
are
true.
breathing now is not the breath of yesterday or
Nope.
the breath of tomorrow, or even the breath a minute from now, or the breath just a minute that just gone by.
Yes.
So it's the perfect tool, as it were, to
Mm-hmm.
encourage us to be in present moment awareness.
Okay.
So that's
That
why
was
it's
that.
not affiliated to any religion, and
Mm-hmm.
it has really taken over the world. It's been used in
Yeah, it
medicine,
has.
in sports, in education, from
Mm-hmm.
kindergarten way up to university.
Yes.
Politicians use it. It's used in businesses. I mean,
Yes,
Google
yes.
has meditation centers in all the institutions, encouraging their staff to come and just be mindful, and then they get insight,
Mm-hmm.
creativity, innovation. You were able to tap into your inner wisdom
Yes.
just by paying attention to your breath. So it's a free gift, and it's just wonderful, an
Yes.
inner resource that we have.
Absolutely, yes. I definitely agree. I believe that it shouldn't be something that people consider is something religious or something that you need permission from a higher being in order to experience it or to do it. It's just simply something you practice with yourself along with the ability to breathe. That's as simple as it gets.
That's all. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that insight. I was aware of its source, so where it came from, but I am not exactly too aware of how it developed and became as famous as it is. So that was very insightful. I was not aware of that. I should
Yeah.
do more research on those things.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, seeing that we're talking about all of these benefits that mindfulness has, I wanted to ask you, what are the positive impacts that mindfulness can have on young people? Seeing in the previous moments that we started with our podcast, you briefly mentioned that young people are always rapid, thinking about different things. They're thinking about different social medias, different emotions that they're experiencing while they are developing and growing up. And I'd like to know if there's any positive impacts that mindfulness can bring to a young person.
Tremendous. And we have a plethora of research that supports the impact, the positive impact of mindfulness for young people. So the very fact that young people are transitioning from childhood into adolescent into young adulthood, and the
Mm-hmm.
mood swings that come along with it, practicing mindfulness really helps them to navigate and to regulate those emotions. So instead of being emotionally volatile and angry and
Mm-hmm.
mad and upset
I
and
can imagine.
enraged, with parents and teachers and society making all those demands,
Yes,
you
yes.
can just sit still and welcome whatever experience they're having. Just be one with it and accept it with open curiosity. And that could help them build the inner muscle, the inner brain muscle, to respond with love and kindness and compassion, as opposed to allowing the amygdala to hijack their brain and respond in negative ways. So it's really good in helping young people regulate those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Also, young people, as they navigate with social media,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things that could attract them. And what they should be paying attention to, or some of them, is
Mm-hmm.
to doing the online homeschooling, getting those assignments done.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, the distraction of TikTok and WhatsApp and Instagram and Kiko.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, they've not done the assignment. So how about making time, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just to breathe so as to
Mm-hmm.
center themselves so that they could focus and concentrate. And that's another benefit of mindfulness. It helps with focus, attention. It helps to concentrate. Young people need to build that muscle in order to survive
Yes.
schoolwork, for example.
Yes.
Some young people worry a lot. They're under
Mhm.
tremendous stress,
Right here, me.
even succumb to depression because they have to be worried about pleasing the wishes of the parents. At the
Mhm.
same time, succumb to depression, what their friends want, what
Yep.
society wants of them,
Yes.
and trying to vacillate between feeling good, bad, sad, and anything in between. So
Mhm.
mindfulness can really help them cultivate this stillness, this peace, and developing self-confidence and self-esteem. Having an
Yes. Yes.
exam, how about having an exam and having test anxiety or having to make a
It,
presentation, having
it's terrible.
anxiety? 3 minutes, 1 minute of just breathing can help
Yeah.
calm and still. So mindfulness could be used for young people in so many ways. Also, not only emotional health, but also social health, because when you are somebody who comes from a space of calmness and
Mhm.
stillness and love and compassion, you have better relationships.
Yes. Yes.
You have better interpersonal relationships. Who wants to be
Mhm.
among somebody who's always upset and angry and mad and shouting and screaming? No.
Yeah.
It really helps young people to have better interpersonal relationships. And research shows that children who are being bullied at school,
Mhm.
and if you've been bullied, your rights have been violated. People say very mean
Mhm.
things about you. And you
Yeah.
would want to react with anger. But
Mhm.
when practicing mindfulness, you are able to just observe the bullying and just witness it and just accept it for what it is and respond with kindness. You see, so young people could really use it to really help them navigate the challenges of being youth. And when they
Yes.
become an adult, oh my goodness, if I know now what I had knew then, I think, I would perhaps live to be the age of 110. It adds
Yeah.
length to your life. You sleep better. It improves your sleep as well. It
Yeah.
boosts your immune system. How many young people
Yes.
have problems sleeping because of the distraction of social media?
Yeah.
And sleep deprivation causes depression or causes
Mhm.
irritability, anger, sadness.
Yeah.
And if only we could just, practice to be in the now, I think our young people would enjoy
Yeah. Yeah.
a
I
life of
feel
mindfulness.
I feel more recently there has become a bigger interest for young people to get involved in mindfulness and in a better way of thinking for themselves and a better way of feeling of themselves. But I still see or encounter, not that I encounter it anymore, but in experience with my sister, like her friends and her interactions and the people around me, I still see that young people are struggling to create meaningful connections and real relationships amongst themselves. A lot of the times, because of the pressures that you've mentioned of young people growing up, they become either superficial or they create relationships among themselves that are very superficial, that are not necessarily deep or meaningful. So by practicing mindfulness, they can definitely become more aware and apparent of the kind of connections that they want to make, not only with themselves but with other people.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned the idea of self-awareness, and that's one of the benefits of mindfulness. You become more
Yeah.
self-aware. So, for example, a young person may receive a message on Instagram or on WhatsApp, and before you respond, you could respond mindfully by taking a
Hmm.
few deep breaths. And before you respond, think, whatever I'm going to post, is it kind? Is it loving?
Yes.
Is it clean? Is it respectful?
Yes.
But before you can do that, you need to step back and take a few deep breaths and think and reflect. Ask yourself those questions before you post something.
Yes,
Yeah?
I think so.
Or is
Yes.
that what is more important for me to be doing right now? Should it not be cleaning my room or getting my homework done, getting my assignment done, or reading this book as opposed to the distraction of social media? You see?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think it's tremendous.
Yes, yes, yes. I feel especially more so now, the age that we are in, everything seems to be like instant gratification. You can get things very easily, and there is no notion of working for something or being patient for something to take place. Like in order for most people to grow, something needs to happen and that they need to work towards it so that it can take place. But seeing the age that we are now, it's like everything you can get spontaneously. It's just like instant gratification, instant gratification. So that could be another influence as to why young people are being more focused on distractions rather than the importance of themselves and their own development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're constantly in a state of doing and doing and
Yeah.
doing. When we have nothing to do, we find something else to do.
Yes.
When do we find time to be a
Can't
human
sit
being?
still.
When do we get time to be and to still? I remember life began with breath. Remember the story of creation? Life
Yes.
began with breath. And so we are called to go back. In order to be alive, to be awake, we need to go back to that breath and take time to breathe and to be present and not this constant doing and doing and doing. When do we ever have time to be and celebrate life? Yeah.
Exactly. That is very true.
Yeah.
Now that we've mentioned all these different things, I was wondering, in regards to young people, how can young people practice mindfulness? We touched about it a little bit, but maybe we can talk about a little bit more further.
Yeah. I would encourage young people to, from time to time during the day, just stop. You could begin at 3 minutes or 5 minutes and increase it to 10, 15 minutes and just pay attention to their breath. There are many guided practices online, and I would encourage, especially those from Mac Williams and John Kabat-Zinn.
Okay.
Just start by practicing 3 to 5 minutes breathing space, the guided mindfulness meditation. So that's a good way to start.
Cool.
And in every day in our lives, just stop and just pay attention to what you're doing and paying attention to the breath. So I would say to try to access there are many resources online for young people. Insight Timer, calm.com. These are free apps they could easily put on their cell phone and make a commitment to practice throughout the day.
What can you do on that app?
There are many millions of examples of
Okay.
guided meditations on those apps.
Oh, okay, all right.
And it's free. Insight.
Even better.
And calm.com, and there are many others.
Mm-hmm.
There are many others. But that's a good place to start. But I highly recommend Mac Williams and John Kabat-Zinn websites.
Okay.
There's also a website for mindfulness for teens as well.
Oh, all right. Are they, is the information provided there in a much simpler manner for them to understand and for them to be guided in a way that...
Yeah, indeed. Mindfulness routines have a repertoire of short guided practices for young people and designed by young people themselves.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very nice. I was not aware of that. Very nice.
And we have many young people are involved in sports, and mindfulness has been integrated into the world of sports. So before you go into a competition, just take a few minutes, to calm the nerves, because there's anxiety just before you engage in competition. But taking time to breathe and just doing a short practice, it helps tremendously. And again,
definitely. I understand why it's in sports, because I feel like a lot of the times people, when they are doing a routine of discipline, they kind of have conflicts within themselves of the things that they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. So distractions. And primarily, I believe that's the main reason why they incorporated it into sports, is to keep them focused on one thing that they need to be focusing on, but how to improve their focusing abilities on that thing.
Mindfulness really helps you to get focused attention. It is training the mind to focus and to pay attention on one thing at a time. Now, that is why it is called a practice. because the more you practice, the better you become at it. And so strengthen the brain networks responsible, for activating the prefrontal cortex. So young person listening might say, okay, tried it for a week and it didn't work. But it is a practice. Think, when you began to ride a bicycle, or when you began learning to swim, or when you
Exactly.
began playing volleyball. And did you give up after the first couple of times?
No.
It requires practice and training. So that's why we said it's a practice. We have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing.
Yes.
And actually, it may not be the right thing for everybody. And it's a matter of finding what's good for you, So if yoga is not the best thing, how about Tai Chi? And there are over 1,000 types of meditation. So if not mindfulness, maybe another type of mindfulness. Exactly. Or maybe journaling might be something, or maybe painting, or maybe artwork. So mindfulness is just one of the many repertoire of activities that young people can engage in order to help find their center and regulate their emotions.
Yes, exactly. I definitely believe what you said at the beginning, where they would start something but they don't see any progress, or they seem to think that it doesn't fit for them. It's the idea of wanting something to work fast and wanting to see instant results from it quickly. So I see that's like a difficulty that we young people have, even myself have, in transitioning or putting myself into something. I don't always, not always, I don't always have the patience to just wait for the results to really sink in and to take place before I make the ultimate decision of stopping it or continuing it. So that's very important.
It requires discipline and practice, and practice, and more practice, and some more practice, but never give up.
Yes, of course. Well, before we close this episode, it has been a really wonderful episode. It's been great to talk to you, Clementia, about mindfulness. I was hoping that before we close this, is there anything you would like to do, any exercise or any things you would like to say before we close the episode?
Maybe we could end with another 1 to 2 minutes of practice. How about that?
Yes, that would be a great idea. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I invite everyone who's listening to just sit comfortably or lie comfortably and close your eyes and just join me in this guided practice.
I'll do it together with you once again.
And everyone who's listening, wherever you are.
Yes, of course.
Comfortably, feet flat on the floor, about 12 inches apart. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you, or in a short, soft gaze. And let us begin by taking 3 deep breaths. And now continue to breathe normally, just paying attention to the breath going in and out of your nostrils. You may want to put one hand on your belly and focus on the rise and fall of your stomach with every in-breath and every out-breath. Repeating this pattern again and again and again. It is okay if some thoughts may come into your mind. Do not engage with the thoughts with any mental chatter. It is in the nature of the mind to think thoughts. So as the thoughts come in, just acknowledge the thoughts and let them go. To do that, We just take a note of the thought. Say the thought comes that I'm hungry, what am I going to have for lunch? You just take a note by saying food and release it. Maybe a thought comes that I have 2 assignments to email to my teacher. Just take a note, assignment, and let it go. Maybe the thought that some young people have, I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough. Just acknowledge that thought, beautiful, and let it go. And when you let go of the thought, you go back to your breath as an anchor. So you go back to your breathing, inhale through your nostrils, or the rise and fall of your stomach. By now, you should be feeling a little lighter, maybe relaxed, maybe some inner peace. And I invite you to just smile at this moment. Just smile. And just congratulate yourself for spending this time, this moment with yourself, with some self-care. Just congratulate yourself for spending this time, this moment to be as you smile, thanking yourself for being there for you. And when you are ready, just gently open your eyes. I wish you well.
Thank you very much, Clem. That was very nice. Another moment for me to really embrace the moment that I am experiencing right now, and I hope that everybody else listening or watching has experienced the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wish all young people who are listening, I wish you well. And I invite you to really consider learning more about mindfulness practice so that you can enjoy a better quality of life. Mm-hmm. You can regulate those emotions and you can celebrate life and accept whatever experiences that you have. Just welcome it in. Just take it all in. One day at a time, and just go back to the breath as an anchor. It's a free gift, and I wish you well. Thank you, Ashna, yes. And I wish you well.
Thank you. Wish you well as well, Clem. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us in this podcast. Thank you for informing everyone on what mindfulness is. The main reason why we wanted to speak about this in the podcast for this episode is because in light of the current circumstance, a lot of people are experiencing anxiety, stress, or worry, and they don't really know how to cope with it, seeing that there isn't much that they feel that there isn't much that they can do. And this has given them an alternative for what they can do with all of that worry and those negative thoughts. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this...
A thought that came to my mind, when we practice mindfulness, I don't want young people to feel that they won't have problems. The problems will be there, the challenges will be there, but you are able to navigate it and be resilient. You're able to really bounce back.
Yes, yes.
The challenges will always be there, but because you are activating and really exercising, this brain muscle called the prefrontal cortex becomes stronger and you can navigate, you become more resilient to cope and
Yes.
manage, with positive
Yes.
emotions. And oh my God,
Yes.
I just wish every young person well. Wish you well.
Well, fantastic.
Okay. I
This
enjoyed
has been our podcast episode, our sixth episode. In the coming months or in the coming weeks, we'll be giving our viewers or our listeners more information on the frequency of how often we will be uploading podcast episodes, but keep up to date with our information that we'll be providing on social media. So stay tuned for our more information. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast, viewer or listener, whoever is watching or listening. Thank you very much for being a part of it, and we hope you stay tuned for our next Vox Juventus episode. Till next time.